Welcome to another video here in the studio. Today, well the other day, Bob and I demoing this Marshall back here. Sick. And we thought we might as well make a video on how to come up with a good amp sound for worship. So we just started from scratch. I asked Bob a couple questions and he would demo it on the amp. Marshall is not a typical worship amp, but we thought we might as well give it a go. And I think we got a pretty good sound ready for pedals. But we just went direct in from my telly straight into the amp and came up with a good bass foundation sound tone that you could use. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the bell icon. Leave comments, we want to hear from you guys. If you guys have any video suggestions, put them in the description, in the comments, not the description. And yeah, enjoy the video. Alright Bob, so I have a tube amp here, plugged in. How do I get a good sound? Walk me through it.
Alrighty, so basically we're going to start from the beginning of the chain and work our way through to the end. So if you're dealing with a guitar going into a guitar amp, you're going to start with the guitar itself. So we've got the pickups on the guitar, cable plugs into the input of the amp over here. Alright. On this particular amp you've got two channels. So it's actually labeled the normal channel and then this is the boost channel. Okay, So
the normal channel is probably cleaner, huh?
Yeah, the normal channel is the clean channel and the boost channel is your sort of overdrivey distortion territory.
Alright,
so it's a little bit hotter than the clean channel basically.
But we'll demo that, huh?
Yeah, we'll demo that. So let's have a look at the amp. Let's start at the beginning. We've got it plugged in channel 1. Volume's all the way down. So if we crank this up now and you play,
still nothing.
We hear nothing. Yeah. So
that's horrible.
The way that tube amps work is that the preamp section, which is going to be this volume control over here, plus the tone stack on this particular amp, feeds into the into the master volume section of the amp. Okay, so essentially you've got a bunch of tubes feeding some more tubes.
So does that first volume, is that like determine how much signal is being sent through the...
Yeah, pretty much. So this is going to determine, at the moment, if you think about it, like you can use an analogy of like water going through a tap or plumbing system. Like the water's coming through, it's off, and as you open this up, it's letting some of the signal or some of the water through. But it's getting stopped here with the master volume. So this is the second stage.
So there's a knot in the hose pipe.
Yeah, well, but no, it's just a closed tap. But basically what we're going to do now is just crank up the master, and as you play, you hear it slightly louder.
Oh,
wow. So now, taking that off.
Now there's no water coming through.
Yeah, you've basically closed the first tap. The second one's open, but what's the difference? It's still off. So
you basically have two controls.
Basically you have two controls feeding one system. Yeah. And the way that they work together is quite interesting. So if you listen here, it's nice and clean. But let's turn down. Let's bring in another stage of the circuit. So the next stage we're going to look at in this preamp. The first thing important is the volume. This volume feeds into that volume and they have this relationship. That's very important. Second thing is the tone stack. Okay, the tone stack on the amp is normally a treble, middle, bass, and often there's a presence control as well, which is kind of like a high frequency.
Okay.
And so for a Marshall, basically, like we're going to start off with everything in the middle. When the tone stack's completely off, it still sounds fine if you just play a bit.
Yeah, that's on the neck pickup.
Yeah, just play
bridge.
So it sounds okay, but let's just bring in the bass, the mids, and the treble.
Got some clarity there.
So typically on this amp, like in the middle is a good starting point, but you can also run it completely flat out, and you can run as I bring it down. So you've got to compensate with the master volume, constantly compensating with the master volume. Turning up this volume makes it louder, so you've got to compensate.
Okay.
And now if you hammer it,
crunch a bit. Yeah, it's very bright.
Yes, it is.
It's about...
We can suck out a bit of that mids because it's a bit of a harsh. So now if you dig in... Not in that pickup though. Alright, but that's essentially... So then we have a second channel as well. If we go into the second channel, this is the boost channel. It works in the same way. So essentially you've got one volume or one gain control feeding into a volume control. Same as we think about it here, this volume could be considered a gain, and this one could be considered the volume. On some amps it says pre and post, and that's a little bit confusing. But essentially it's the same thing. So it's pre-gain, post-gain, both feeding into volume control.
All right.
So we leave that back on 4 where we were just now. Let's turn up the first one. Nothing happens. Okay, so it's the same situation we had before. Second tab's closed. So turn that up. You can hear it's getting crunchy. These tones stack in the middle. Then we can hear it's completely, saturated, crunchy.
Yeah. It's like that AC/DC vibe.
Yeah, if we bring this back up again, turn that down, volume's gone again. Turn down the second stage, tab's closed. So you can see it's like just a sequence the whole time. So what you can take away from that is that by balancing these 3 controls, you're able to create all kinds of different gains, like the same as like an overdrive pedal, and running, even if you're cascading like a boost into an overdrive, like it changes the tone. It's basically the same sort of principle in a way. Okay, so we go back here. We've got a distorted tone. If you back off the pre or the gain, or in this case it's just called gain on the boost channel, if you back that off, it gets quieter. So then you compensate with this middle one here. We're going to clean tone.
Wow, it's very nice. Let's add some reverb there.
You can play your favorite ripping blues line. Maybe play it once more because I hit the mic during the shot. That just shows you can get like various different tones from just like
a few knobs.
Literally one channel. And there's some people that don't even use the clean channel. They'll just play on the boost the whole time. But traditionally what you do is you set up a nice clean sound on the one channel, set up a nice sort of crunchy, distorted sound on the other channel, and then use a foot switch to switch between them live.
I think there is a foot switch in the back here.
Yeah, it's got a foot switch in the back. It's also got an effects switch.
So what would be a nice, like typically you don't use a Marshall in church.
You could use it.
But like let's see if we can set up a nice like starting point for pedals. Hope you guys are enjoying this video. Before we move on, I've got a question for you. What would your typical worship guitar amp be? What would you use on a Sunday? Let us know in the description. In this video, we are using a Marshall JTM30. Not a typical amp you would use in worship, but we're going to get a cool sound out of it and see what we can get. So yeah, over to Bob.
Yeah, so church, basically what you want is, well, what kind of tones would you be looking for?
I think like edge-of-breakup, so that like if you just drive it a bit more with a bunch of pedals, it like really just cuts through,
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. So wouldn't really use the clean channel for that because you're going to get a very clean sound. And on this particular amp, even cranking it 100% full, if you just play it loud,
some breakup.
So that'll break up because it's running on 100% volume.
Yeah.
So that'll break up. You can drive it harder with the tone stack as well if you want to. But it brings in a whole lot of sort of harshness that you probably don't really want out of that. So back it off rather. Marshall seem to like the middle position, but every amp is different and every tone stack's different. So
I guess every guitar you play through also. Like a different guitar.
Yeah. It's a nice kind of clean sound, but I'd probably keep it on the boost channel.
Yeah.
So this gives you more versatility without having to tap dance over like 3 or 4 different pedals. Did it again. Whack the mic.
I typically like just when I'm setting a tone on my amp, like use the bridge pickup, because like if you set a nice warm tone on the neck pickup and then you're busy with the serves and then it's very bright.
Yeah.
It's like thin.
Give it one a shot.
When you want that to be like the punchy one. So let's see what we can do.
So what you could do is you could drive this with, say, a booster pedal, for example, and putting a boost pedal onto it is going to essentially be the same as cranking up the pre-gain,
preamp
because
gain,
that's all
yeah.
you're doing. You're just hitting it with a hotter signal. Whether that hotter signal is coming from the guitar or coming from a pedal along the chain,
Yeah.
it doesn't really make a difference. Yeah, so I would go, if we're going to set up like a basic tone for church, start on the back position. Let's crank the tone stack, so you have a listen to that. It's a bit harsh. That's pretty harsh, so let's back that off a bit. It's kind of nice in the middle. Kill a little bit of the mids. It's a Marshall thing. Some people like to scoop the mids on a Marshall. It's kind of the sound. It does this. This is what it sounds like. It's that kind of sound. Okay, which is quite popular with Marshall players, but yeah, that's how you get that tone. Okay.
All right.
But what we would be looking for is something that kind of more on the edge of breakup, so lower pre-gain.
So would you crank that? Okay.
Post-gain is almost on full. But the master volume is actually what's feeding the speaker.
Yeah.
The speaker is also going to distort as well. So that's going to add to the distortion characteristics of the amp. So changing a speaker is going to change the sound of the amp as well. Some speakers also crunch much more easily, and some speakers crunch a little bit less, you know. So in a Marshall, as a Celestion speaker, it's going to crunch. That's basically the way I would set up for
church.
Essentially for church. You could set up like that and just leave it on the boost channel and then use your pedals to drive everything, because often when you're playing at church, the amps are off stage. You know, in many churches, the amps are actually off the stage. So if they're off the stage, you can't necessarily be switching between channels because, well, it depends how long your channel switching cable is.
Yeah, typically nowadays they don't really do that though.
Yeah, it's not so common. So like if you were playing like another amp, like maybe an old vintage amp that's only got one channel, this is probably the way to do it. You know, you've got a pre-gain, post-gain situation.
Yeah.
On this particular amp, I think for worship, like just leaving it on that one sound would probably be good, because if you do want the bigger sound, you can just kick it up with the boost pedal or with an overdrive.
Just crank it.
And it's going to handle, because of the low gain here, it's going to handle pedals pretty well.
Yeah.
So it's going to handle overdrives and fuzzes and stuff like that.
Let's see what it sounds like. So that's the neck pickup. Play a bit softer, and then you get like nice clean.
Let's just hear what that sounds like when it's hammered.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That'll get you started.
Yeah. Alright guys, so that's a wrap. If you guys have any questions, comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the bell icon. We have some exciting news. We are busy with a new course. It's the tone course, all about that beautiful worship tone that we hear every time we play amazing guitars. Stay tuned, because that is coming up soon. We're getting ready for filming. We've just been doing pre-production, flat out, doing some test recordings. Subscribe. I think there's like, what? 50-something% of the people that haven't subscribed, our viewers.
Yeah.
I don't mind behind the camera there, so that's him. But yeah, like that's, come on guys, please help us out. Subscribe, hit the like button, share with your friends, and yeah. That's it.
Good.
They're good.
Great.
Great, Richard Johnson.